I'm Dali Santana Rhoda. I'm a research assistant at FIU's Jack D. Gordon Institute for Public Policy. I'm also a former Intel Fellow for the Intelligence Community Centers for Academic Excellence program, where my research looked at China's monopolization over critical minerals across Latin America and the Caribbean. But by far, it's been an immense honor for me to support Randy Pestana, our Director of National Security Policy and Strategic Engagement, with the logistical organization of this outstanding conference. Please, a round of applause for Randy Pestana. It is an immense honor for me to introduce the fireside chat between Dr. Shlomi Dinar and U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, Mike Waltz. Dr. Shlomi Dinar is the Dean of the Stephen J. Green School of International and Public Affairs. He's a professional in the Department of Politics and International Relations. Prior to becoming Dean, he was Associate Director for Academics and then Associate Dean for Graduate Studies and Innovation. Dinar's research interests lie at the intersection of international environmental politics, national security, and negotiation. In particular, he has published in the areas of conflict and cooperation over transboundary rivers. With that, I will hand it over to Dr. Shlomi Dinar. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, Ambassador Waltz. Thank you so much for joining us here at the 11th Annual Hemispheric Security Conference. It's an honor and pleasure to be with you. I wanted to formally introduce you to our audience members. Ambassador Mike Waltz was sworn in as the 32nd U.S. representative to the United Nations on September 20th, 2025. Ambassador Waltz is a colonel in the U.S. Army, a combat decorated Special Forces officer, the former National Security Advisor to President Donald Trump, a former congressman and small business owner, an author, and a proud father. In 2018, Waltz became the first Green Beret to be elected to Congress. In this role, he served as a subcommittee chairman on the House Armed Services Committee, Foreign Affairs Committee, and Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence. So thank you again, and please welcome Ambassador Waltz to our session.
Thank you, and importantly, I'll just add a native Floridian, a rare native Floridian. So always wonderful to be with our great Florida university system.
Thank you. And Ambassador Waltz, before we get into our conversation, I wanted to thank you and thank your team. You hosted an FIU delegation headed by our president, Jeanette Nunez, in early December. So thank you so much for your hospitality. We were also joined by students, and we greatly appreciate the time you gave both university leadership as well as our students. And I'd be remiss if I didn't take this opportunity to show off a little bit about our students. Some of the students in the delegation were from our Model United Nations program. And FIU Model United Nations program is ranked number 3 in North America, number 1 in the state of Florida, and has been ranked in the top 10 for the last 14 consecutive years. So again, thank you for your hospitality. And last but not least, one of your very good friends and colleagues, Ambassador Dani Danon, is also a graduate of Florida International University. He graduated with his undergrad in international relations from what today is the Stephen J. Green School of International Public Affairs. So just wanted to share that with you and the audience here.
Yeah, well, thank you. And hey, everyone out in the audience, we're recruiting, so keep those Model UN students coming up. They had good, tough questions. We'll send them over to deal with the Chinese and the Security Council.
Fantastic. So I'd like to start with a baseline question, which I think will set the stage for our conversation this morning. President Trump has laid out a worldview that brings the Western Hemisphere into focus, both as it pertains to U.S. national security as well as foreign policy. Inspired by the Monroe Doctrine, President Trump has reaffirmed the administration's commitment under a new Trump corollary to the Monroe Doctrine. And you, Ambassador, and the U.S. mission to the United Nations play a very, very important role in implementing this approach. So I'd like to ask you, how is the Trump corollary to the Monroe Doctrine being implemented, specifically as seen through the vantage point of the U.S. mission to the United Nations?
Yeah, thanks. It's a great question, and just to somewhat set the stage for that, I think one of the painful but very real hard truths that we learned from the COVID experience was that supply chains matter. They're critical. Seemingly unimportant, inexpensive things like mask, gowns, and gloves, personal protective equipment in the hospital. If we can't access them because they are made all over the world and suddenly other countries want them and don't want to export to us, whether it's critical minerals, you name the issue, for all kinds of reasons, we need to bring those supply chains back home. If it doesn't make sense for a variety of reasons to have them in the United States, let's have them in our own hemisphere. And I think one of the approaches that this administration is taking is, look, we have all of the energy, the critical minerals, the friendly relationships, the food supplies that we need in our own hemisphere, but we need to pay attention to our own hemisphere. We need to build those relationships, whether diplomatically, trade, military partnerships, or otherwise. And that's been a key part of the focus. And that focus extends from the Arctic to our own southern border, to the Panama Canal, and of course, to the critical relationships in Central America, South America, and the Caribbean. So that's one piece. The next piece is that cartels, multinational terrorist organizations, criminal organizations are absolutely a threat to the United States. They're a threat to our citizens, and organizations and situations where drugs, guns, people are moving in and out of the United States unchecked, or serve as kind of a cancer that spreads across the region, are something that we cannot and should not tolerate. Now, how does that play out here in the United States, or in the United Nations? Case in point, Haiti. Haiti, sadly and tragically, has been taken over by transnational gangs, both local and international. We see ongoing cooperation with cartels emanating out of Venezuela, out of Colombia, out of Mexico, that are moving drugs, guns, and thugs into Europe, West Africa, and the United States. Unacceptable, right? From an America First standpoint, there's two key, tenets that I would highlight here at the UN. Like, why does the UN matter from an America First foreign policy standpoint? Well, number one, you need one place in the world where everybody can come and talk. In a diplomacy first approach, you've got one place that has 193 countries. Every world leader comes once a year in the UN General Assembly, right here in New York. Number two, burden sharing is a key part of an America First foreign policy. Well, we see both of those things playing out in Haiti. The UN, through a UN Security Council resolution, has once again taken that task on. We think it's going to be a bit different this time, in that we've given what we now call the Gang Suppression Force an offensive mandate. And I'll just end by saying, look, that is flowing in right now as we speak from countries like Chad, from El Salvador. Kenya has been there the last year. The United States spent in the last administration over $1 billion a year trying to take this on. We will now spend 75% less, and we are going to share that burden with the CARICOM countries, with countries from Latin America, South America, and Africa, that are going to take on something that is truly a transnational and international problem, but is right off of America's shores. I don't want to see U.S. troops down there like we had in the 1990s under the Clinton administration. This will now be a multinational effort to try to get these gangs under control and try to get a political process back in place in Haiti. That's just one example of where the UN can actually work for us. We can share the burden. We can take care of a problem, hopefully, that's right off of America's shores. Yeah, there are other examples, but I'll just leave it there.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up with you actually on Haiti, if we could. When we visited you in early December, we also came with a report on Haiti authored by FIU's Jack D. Gordon Institute for Public Policy. The report not only provided an assessment, this was a few weeks after the UN resolution that you and your colleague from Panama penned. Right. And the report not only included an assessment of the situation on the ground, but also recommendations, both short-term recommendations and long-term recommendations for the GSF, for the interagency, for the United Nations. So I was curious, as a follow-up to what you were saying earlier, you clearly outlined some successes. Chad is involved, other countries are involved. What are some other successes that we're seeing to date with the GSF? What are some challenges that you are seeing as well that you could share with us?
Sure. Well, one was getting the right authorities in place, and that's what that's what we really focused on from a macro sense. Like, for example, there's been a peacekeeping force in southern Lebanon for decades. It did not have the right authorities. It did not have the right mandate to actually do its job, which was to basically disarm Hezbollah and keep southern Lebanon, a peaceful territory that can't be used to launch attacks on Israel or elsewhere. So getting the right mandate in place for the GSF was key. Now getting the right logistics in place to actually support it. That has commenced April 1st, actually on time, which doesn't always happen when you're dealing with the United Nations. And then finally, it's getting the right force mix in place that can actually take on these paramilitary gangs. This isn't your kind of local mafia. These are paramilitary terroristic gang that frankly need a more military style approach. Where's the challenge? The challenge is these gangs often use children to do its dirty work. And so where we're working with both the UN authorities, and we just hosted
Mr. Ambassador, we have an issue with sound. I just want to make sure that our...
Okay, can you hear me?
You're back.
Well, I was just saying, to get the right, it's horrific to take a 14-year-old kid, put an AK-47 in their hands, give them $5 and gain control. So how do we work with a justice system that has basically been, devastated? How do we have an offensive mandate to go after the gang leadership, but then pull these kids back in, back into the fold in a responsible way? That is something plans we're still working through, frankly.
And Mr. Ambassador, my apologies. I think we have some sound issues, and it seems like it might be on your end. So just wanted to. We still can't hear you. Are they back now?
Are we back?
Oh, there we go. Now we can hear you. Okay. So sorry, please finish your...
Well, I was just saying, hopefully by this year we'll get a security environment in place that we can have and have an act with a man rebuild it. Mostly with the Dominican Republic and with other Caribbean nations.
Yeah, my apologies, Mr. Ambassador. I think we continue to have sound issues. Let me perhaps, if you can say one more thing so we can see if maybe the sound is back on your side. No, the sound is not back. Yeah. Well, in the hopes that we do get the sound back on your end, let me tee up, if I can, the next question. You already mentioned Haiti, you mentioned transnational criminal organizations and gangs. I was wondering if there are any other threats that are on your radar screen from the hemisphere, whether they are intra-hemispheric threats or extra-hemispheric threats that, again, you are focused on in your position in the United Nations in terms of combating.
Well, if you can hear me.
We can hear you now.
Okay. Again, there are all kinds of issues, but from the UN perspective, in particular, he's from Venezuela. We're dealing with working with the High Commissioner of Refugees to responsibly have those folks be able to return to their homes, to care for. But what we cannot have are governments or cartels that are weaponizing the trafficking of people for all kinds of malicious ends, either into the United States or into Europe or other places. So that's something that we're focused on. And then, of course, we believe Venezuela is heading on a much better trajectory. I'm actually going to meet just with. Again, this is a forum right here. We have more embassies in New York to the United Nations than we have in Washington to the United States, because we have everyone here, even Iran, Cuba, North Korea, it's a forum where we can have conversations and engagements that we normally can't have because of our bilateral differences. And so for all of its flaws, and by the way, we just pushed the UN to take its first budget cut in its entire history in 80 years, including cutting 3,000 headquarters bureaucrats. For all of its flaws, and we're working on those reforms, this is a mechanism and platform to engage the world right here in our own hemisphere. And we look forward to having everyone up here.
Yeah, and I know that President Trump has expressed his frustrations with the United Nations, but has also touted its great potential. And now you've been leading those reforms. You've mentioned budget. Any other successes that you could tell us about that you've been leading through your position in the United Nations, pushing the United Nations, again, to see its great potential?
Well, part of it is just that, it can't be everything to everyone. We're calling it back to basics and getting on founding post-World War II. So case in point, there are more peacekeepers around the world now than you have in the British Army, over 90,000. And we worked with the Secretary General to downsize some of those forces, to streamline them, to cut some of the administrative overhead. And to do that not only on the peace. Not true, it's fake news. What we're doing is using our taxpayer dollars to drive reform. So organizations like the International Organization for Migration, the World Food Program, UNICEF, they can use the same logistics systems, the same warehouses, the same aviation fleet, the same delivery systems. So we're streamlining a lot of that back office logistics so that actually more pennies on the dollar reach people in need. And then finally, back to the hemisphere, there's a longstanding political mission in Colombia. It was established to monitor as the FARC stood down and transitioned back into Colombia's political system, which was fine. That's appropriate. It's still there today, but it was assigned so many other tasks that kind of lost sight of what it was originally mandated to do. We've now downsized it, reformed it, streamlined it, and really focused it back on some of these localized gangs and localized like ELN and what have you that it needs to be focused on. So it's streamlining, it's downsizing, and it's getting it back to basics.
Yeah, and I know we're at time, but I also wanted to mention the Trade Not Aid initiative that you presided over in terms of the launch in late April. I think that also is in line with some of the reforms that are undergoing in the United Nations that you are leading. Ambassador Waltz, I wanted to thank you so much for your time with us here at the 11th Annual Hemispheric Security Conference. I want to thank you for being such an amazing friend to FIU. And please, a round of applause to Ambassador Waltz for joining us. Thank you.
Thank you, and I promise you, as a resident of St. Augustine, I'll get on down there in person next time. Any excuse I can get back home, I welcome it. And see you soon, and everyone's welcome up here in New York.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, sir.
All right, thank you.
Bye-bye.